We're up here. You're down there. You walked in the wrong goddamn room, Commander.
Put the bunny back in the box.
Losers whine about the losing. Winners go home and fuck the prom queen.
I'm only borrowing your Humvee.
Welcome to the Rock.
I hope you're insured.
I'm in San Francisco.
I just want to find some rockets, man.
You mean this side? I'm right here.
Womack, you piece of shit.
Zeus's butthole. You open the door.
It's been the greatest honor of my life to serve with you, General.
Now being given a last chance by a man with a gun. Put the phone down.
There's no medicine for what I have.
Hummel out.
I'm breaking down.
Ding, 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 you're done. Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Class Action. I'm your boy, PLD.
And I'm Richard Eric Jarvie. I hope you enjoyed this intro. We were just trying to shoot how many quotes from two of the movies that we're covering today and see who breaks first. It was me.
I could have gone out with more rock. I'm actually not great with. I don't think I did one Con Air quote because I just kept coming with the rock and came to my mind. So
I think I only. Oh, I did too. I did one from John
one.
Cusack as well, which was.
Yes.
I'm actually surprised I remember that one.
That's good stuff, though. But either way, you know what? Welcome to Class Action. Here we are. Class Action is our show here on the Action Industries YouTube channel, home of Ben Bateman and Andrew Guy. We always salute them for giving us their little space on the interwebs here. And on Class Action, we take two franchises, movies, actors, things, and put them up against each other where we have 5 custom-made categories, and we let them battle it out to the death to decide which one is better and which one is guilty as sin.
That's right. And since Ben and Drew are doing Con Air for the greatest movie of all time, we figured that we would kind of piggyback off of them, keep it in theme. So we're pitching one of the greatest movies ever made, if not the greatest movie ever made, The Rock, against Con Air.
That is going to be awesome. That's going to be awesome. So before we usually do that, though, before you go into our brief of the week, we actually do sometimes some segments. Sometimes if it's a new movie, we'll do a review. It'll get any new movies in the foreseeable future.
There is a really cool new movie that just came out on Netflix called Extraction,
I heard
starring
about
Chris Hemsworth.
That good, huh? Wow, you're muted all of a sudden. You got so excited that also now I can't hear you. And you're blanking again, aren't you? Your Extraction's so awesome that it's making you speechless.
You can't hear me?
I can now. We're good. We're back.
Okay. I've got no idea where I got cut off, though.
I don't know. It's okay. You just said something like, basically you went, holy shit. It almost like sounds like
I got bleeped by Class Action.
That's what it was. That is a kids-friendly stream now, I guess. Fuck that. It's not. That's never.
There we go. But yeah, Extraction's freaking awesome. It's produced by the Russo brothers, starring Chris Hemsworth. There's so much cool action in it, and it's got a really, really profound story behind it.
Really?
So
it's funny because it looks like I'd seen it before. Like I know.
Yeah, it does. The trailer does no justice. When the action starts, you sort of feel like, okay, this is a special movie. Something similar to how John Wick, you saw John Wick for the first time.
Right.
The action sequences were shot very dynamically, and there were some new things being used. So once the action starts, you're like, oh my God, this just keeps going and going and going.
Well, I've added it to my ever-growing watch list queue. Actually, I should say ever-shrinking watch list queue. That's the one minorly, I don't know if it's a good thing about the Corona thing, but I'm whittling down that watch list as we go down and sort of adding more to it at this point. So getting close. So yeah, I'm excited to watch it though. So I'll definitely add that to it. But that's enough about Extraction because we're not talking about Extraction this week. That's going to be a future episode of Class Action, I think.
Yeah, it should be.
Oh, maybe I'll watch it this week and we'll do it next week. Who knows? But this week, like I said, The Rock versus Con Air. Now, before we get into our brief of the week, as we discussed, we sometimes have some fun, have some segments to play. We have two we're going to do this week. It's our two usual. Actually, we always say some segments, but we really only have two that we ever really do when it comes out. I think we say some segments because we want to develop some more, but then we just kind of like fall back into, well, I like these segments. So we'll see.
They're great segments.
Maybe someday we'll get into a third or fourth segment. So until then, I'll keep saying, oh, we do these segments sometimes.
And there's a problem with one of the segments today because I did not remember to do one of them. I actually remembered, and I was thinking about it, and I came up with one, but I didn't come up with the other one.
Let me tell you. Wait, hold on a second. I'll put my shock face on. Because you always forget to do what would Ed Harris play. That is my everybody knows by now, my favorite actor is Ed Harris, and one of Richard Harris as well. We really appreciate old Blue Eyes there. We always feel like he never mails in a performance and always makes a film better. Even the worst films, as long as Ed Harris is in there, you've legitimized your film. So what we do is we take him and we put him in the movie, either recasting a role, or we will rewrite or write a new role and kind of slide it into a different relationship to see how that might affect the film and its outcome. This week's kind of a special, funny week because, well, he's already in the goddamn film.
He's in The Rock.
He's in The Rock, at least one of them. So we have to decide what we want to do. So we'll slide him into Con Air like normal. But for The Rock, we decided to do something a little special or kind of special. We're going to take him and try to put him into a different role and see how that might look. So let me guess, you did one of them. Did you do Con Air or did you do The Rock?
I did The Rock.
Barely. Why don't you give me your Rock? I'll give you my Rock and Con Air, and then maybe by then you'll have something figured out.
I'll give you my Rock.
Okay, there you go.
I would have Ed Harris and David Morse swap roles.
I consider
Hear me out.
I consider that. Go ahead.
David Morse is freaking awesome in the movie. He's got kinder eyes than Hummel does. He's got those. He's pretty quiet. He's pretty stern, but he's a bit more softer. You can feel there's more sort of. He has loyal eyes, so these sincere eyes that just Hummel has these cold, stern eyes. So I would have Hummel as Morse the second in command. He's this very tough ass, wants to do it like more like with violence maybe, and I'd have Morse as this more like sort of more educated, wide open, but like softer and thinks things through.
That could
be an interesting dynamic switch.
That would be interesting because it seems like Ed Harris always plays much more in control characters. So it'd be interesting to see if he could be underneath somebody like that, like David Morse. But I like where you're headed. It would be intriguing to watch. I mean, I think he could pull it off because I think he can pull anything off. I think he could play Nick Cage's girlfriend if he really needs to.
Absolutely, Carla.
He'd be doing fine with that.
He's a prom queen then.
He is the prom queen.
Just cat Ed Harris as the prom queen.
Ed Harris is the prom. That's my recast. I'm going to recast Ed Harris as the prom queen. Now, what I want to do, I mean, to me, there was one obvious role I could have recast him in. I could, but I'll tell you that one first. I didn't go with it. I wanted to initially go with the Michael Biehn role.
Yep. Crossed my mind as well.
As the U.S. Marine, he comes in there. They have the same flight. So he can actually switch roles completely.
But I was actually thinking of which one am I going to use, David Morse or Michael Biehn switching.
So that was an easier one to me. But I thought about it again, and what I wanted to see instead, Ed doesn't get a chance to play the shit rat too often. He's done it a few times. I like to see him in the role of Womack. Womack, you piece of shit. Did I do an awful Connery accent? I usually do a better Connery accent, but I slipped into it. It's really god-awful.
Dude, if Connery did a Russian accent in The Hunt for Red October, you can do as shitty of a Connery as you want. Also Nick Cage, because the Alabama accent, oh my god.
We're gonna get there. Let me tell you,
we're gonna get there.
But yes, I would like to see. Because I think he'd actually be a very good shit rat like Womack, like always beating down Mason and everything else. I think it's gonna be a fun kind of role for him to do. So that's The Rock. Ed Harris dual roles now in The Rock. So now we get to move to Con Air. And while you're still thinking, because I can tell you haven't figured it out quite yet.
No, I have not.
I will go into mine for that as well. I mean, the interesting, the easy, obvious one. I always like to say what the obvious one is to me, because sometimes there always seems to be an obvious one you could do. I mean, you could put him as Cyrus because he's a villain.
Yeah, absolutely.
A villain. You can slide it in. But I want to do something different. I'm going to pull from one of my favorite movies. I always talk about this movie. It's got very little love, but I always talk about Just Cause. I want to slip him into the Steve Buscemi role.
Yeah, I can see that.
Put him in that, like, have him be like a little bit more intensely. I think he could make
Mhm.
Susan, like, even more intensely scary, but then like he'll like be lighthearted, like he does say in like Sweetwater. Have a like have a like a lighthearted but then intense character. I think that could be a very fun role for him to play.
I agree. That's a good one. Yeah, and then have him redeemed at the end. He's sort of
Right.
Yep.
I love it. I think I love
Mhm.
it. I think it's perfect.
I
Yeah,
would
that-
I would probably use Ed Harris as the shit weasel in Con Air. The I don't know the actor's name. He played in Mystery Alaska as well.
Oh,
The shit weasel who just fucks over John Cusack at every move. The car he destroys and everything.
Cole Meany. That's it. Cole
Yeah,
Meany. Malloy. Or whatever. Yes.
Yep,
that-
Malloy. Yeah,
That's I totally did that. That's good. That's a good one for him too. That'd be good. I like that. All right. So there we
you
go.
won though. You won this week.
I did. I wasn't going to say anything. I was going to let you say things, so don't worry about it. But yes, I definitely did. So,
Winners go home and fuck the prom queen, which in this case is Ed Harris.
hey,
So there you go, Paul.
I have a better up here. So, well, it's actually the call to action one with me marrying Ed Harris, but that's neither here nor there. We won't get into that anymore.
We should.
I'd have to change the banners. I'm not ready to do that right yet. But
Paul Harris.
speaking
Sounds
of Paul,
good.
why would it be a Denuzio? No, it would definitely be Paul Harris.
Ed Denuzio.
PLH.
PLH.
If I were going with that,
Paul Harris Denuzio.
I could do that too. PhD. Now I'm a doctor.
PhD.
There we go. I love it. Well, speaking of the call to action banners, we actually have a special surprise today.
Yes.
This is something we're doing. We're new. Our next segment was something we call the public defender. Jared, I'm going to throw that to you because I know you love talking.
Because I love explaining the
you love
public
explaining
defender.
This rolls out.
The public defender is something that we came up with so we could do a top 5 or a top 6 list. Well, like you said, off the cuff. So we have no preparation whatsoever, and we figured, what should we call the segment? So in movies, usually the public defender is a lawyer who is underpaid, he's overworked, he's beaten down by the system, and usually when he comes to court, he's underprepared. He's got no idea what he talks about. He finds out on the spot. But I gotta stress, that is a very far-fetched stereotype that we are just using for the fun of it. So no hard feelings towards any but public defender.
I love Richard. Every week he has to say that. We really love you, public defenders. We don't have
Because I might need you soon. They're gonna come for me.
But yes, we do. We have to throw something at us. It started off kind of weird, like we started just throwing one at each other, but that kind of didn't really work as much as we wanted. We kind of like to have the banner. So what we did is had Billy do one, Currency do one maybe.
Yep.
And then we had a guest last 2 weeks ago, Maddie Gunner. We had John Wick versus The Matrix. So this week we're expanding and trying something different either. We kind of liked that. So we are going to invite on a special guest briefly. Someone I know very well. If you ever watch Call to Action, you know her very well. She is my work wife. Have you ever seen me on Chilled Action? Let's bring her on right now, Miss Danny Joy. And you're muted, Danny. So you gotta click. There you go.
What's up, guys? I'm so sad that I'm on with this because I did not get to change my name because I didn't get to put DJR to come in with the initials. So
that's
so we got to get you back sometime with
I know.
the correct initials.
come back as DJR so I can blend in with the crew over here.
do
Hi,
that.
guys.
What's up?
How are you?
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm very excited to be on for this specific episode.
How did you like our quote off?
Oh man, that was amazing. I'm so glad that you guys did that. No, not at all.
I probably should have had you on so you could do more of the Con Air quotes because we.
Yep.
Danny's our resident Con Air specialist. We both watch The Rock a lot. She's watched Con Air a lot more than we have. So, but it's always good to see you, Danny. You know, we have a great working relationship, you and I. So, but this is our special where we do, like I said, off the cuff. And Danny Joy had prepared a question for us to answer. She's going to ask us, and then she's going to look at our blank, confused faces as we figure out
Scour
what
the brain for that.
I gotta get that SpongeBob guy. I don't know if you ever saw that SpongeBob cartoon where he's looking for anything but his name or something like that. He's like, you see his inner self going through files, going, "What's my name? What's my name?"
I've never seen any SpongeBob
No,
episodes.
that's how we all know that Paul's a dad.
Yep. We never had a dad joke on this show before. There
Well,
we go.
New
Few
things
grounds being broken
every
in.
episode.
You're welcome.
New things every episode. There you
Yes, you're
go.
very welcome.
Danny, why don't you hit us with it? What is your off-the-cuff question for us to answer?
Alrighty, guys, because of the setting that we are in with Con Air and with The Rock, two very, very, very dramatic movies in their settings. My question for you guys right now are: what are your top movies set inside of a prison or a jail?
Ooh,
Okay.
okay. Sure,
Shit,
sure, sure.
movies.
Okay. I'm gonna hit number one, Shawshank Redemption. Boom.
Damn it!
Boom.
This is like my number one movie of all time, and I didn't think of it.
I think this is the thing we usually, when we go to these things,
Oh
we
my
get very,
God.
Trevor, you want to go first? I'll go first. Now we're like, if we think of something, I'm taking you before he does.
This is mine.
This is mine.
Okay, I'm gonna be cheating a little, but it kind of fits. Escape Room.
Ooh.
They're sort of, they're imprisoned in it.
That's true.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Here's one I'm going to throw out there. I'm going to see if she'll allow it. I kind of like this that Danny gets to judge it. It's not set in a jail, but there is a great jail scene. It's my favorite jail scene. Clerks 2. That
Aw.
jail scene at the end. That's my favorite scene in
Dude, that
all
is
of the
not a
universe.
prison movie.
But it's the best movie. The best scene in the View Askew universe is in that jail. I'm going to go with it.
Nice.
Shot
I'm going to
caller.
allow it for Paul.
That's why I love it.
Shot caller. Shot caller.
Shot.
The one with
caller.
Nikolai Coster-Waldau, I think it's.
I don't
Ooh.
know this one.
I'm going to have to watch that
I've
too.
never
I
seen the
love
movie, but
Jamie
it's the first
Lannister.
prison movie that popped to mind.
I don't know. Is that fair? You're going to call one of your favorite ones and you haven't even seen the
got one.
movie? You got one? Go ahead. Throw it up there. I'll do
Um,
one. There you go.
I can't remember the name though. It's the Chopper Reed movie. I think it's called Chopper. By
I know what
Eric
you're talking
Bana
about.
is starring.
Yes, Eric Bana. That's true. I know what you're talking about. I do know what you're talking about. Okay.
Why am I blanking?
So this is part of the cuff. This is part of off the cuff. You can't remember the name of it. Can we allow it without having the title of the movie?
I mean, if you can explain it well enough to maybe where
I'm sorry.
one of us
I
can figure out.
got a lag for. I didn't hear what you said.
I said we don't know if we can allow that. If you can't come up with a title, I mean, you'll have to explain it enough that we will believe. Unless you're going to Night Falls us and totally make up a movie that Christian did on movie fights. Ever heard that story?
Nightfalls, yes. It's the best. It's the best movie of all time. Everyone, please go try to
Nightfalls.
find Nightfall.
Pacino and De Niro there. This is their greatest film of all time. You
So,
got it.
Paul, did you say one or?
I
'cause
did
got
not say one yet.
disconnected for a while.
I don't know. I was saying.
Okay. Okay.
So are you gonna make up Chopper? Or are you gonna try to make up and see what it sounds like? Tell it because if that's the title, we'll go with it. I guess.
I think it's called Chopper.
Okay, then I'll allow it myself.
I'm
Danny,
gonna-
you're our judge right now.
I'm going to allow that.
IMDb.
Should allow it. Okay,
You know what? I trust Jervy.
Yeah, it's
so.
called Chopper.
There you go. Perfect. All right. What else can we do? What else is set in a prison? I have one more.
Oh my God! How did I not think of that?
I hope it's the movie that I have on my list that y'all haven't said yet.
Oh, okay. Throw it in there, Jarvie. Go ahead. You can go ahead if you got one.
You were so close with the Shawshank Redemption. It's the Green Mile.
Ah, that's what it was.
I thought about saying that, but I'm like, do I really want to say that after I said Shawshank? They're both Stephen King ones. I was kind of want to throw something else out there.
Yeah, sure. That's why.
Sure.
Play to your audience, Paul. Come
I
on.
know. I really should. I really should play it. That's my mistake. Another one. Okay, this is it. I got it. It does take place in a prison for a lot of the movie.
Don't start this again. I can't take another cheating pick.
This is actually better than than Clerks 2.
All right.
Tango and Cash.
Nice.
Gotta say something. Never seen the movie.
Oh, you know what? I'm going to do an episode of Class Action with Tango and Cash on there just to force you to watch the movie.
You're gonna have
I
Tango
do.
and Cash on the show.
I will have. Yeah, just a
I'm
little.
gonna do a Class Action with Tango and Cash on the
with
show.
Kurt Russell. So just a little. They're our guests for our next live stream.
Awesome.
I
We're
cannot wait for that episode.
So Slice coming on.
We're gonna have fun. Come on, absolutely. All right, well that's our top six. We got 3 each, I believe. So, Daddy, what about yours? And so you get to prepare a little bit. You get to tell us more. You get to look smarter, mean, you always look smarter than me anyway, but go ahead and actually look smarter than me this time too.
Well, that's a different type of argument, Paul. But definitely, if I had to think of my top 3 when I was going through this list, I was trying to think of something super personal for me. Shawshank Redemption was absolutely number 1. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. This is my dad's favorite movie. Like, he claims this as his favorite. My dad does not watch movies. He's not into anything. Is not very well versed in like literature basically and stuff like that. So he doesn't know that it's a Stephen King adaptation or anything like that. But this movie has been a part of my life since I was very young, and it holds a very special place inside of my heart. Andy Dufresne is one of my favorite characters ever on screen. My dad's name is Andres, so he goes by Andy, so that's another thing with it as well. The second movie that I picked was also Green Mile, because it's a wonderful movie. It's a beautiful movie. John Coffey's story is so great. Tom Hanks in that movie is phenomenal. It's also a Stephen King adaptation, so that's of course why it's also very close to my heart. But that story is so nice, and it's absolutely a movie that makes me cry. Both of those movies are movies that make me cry. And my third movie is a movie that I absolutely knew that neither one of you would say, and I think it's a movie that neither of you would have ever thought of at all, and it's Crybaby. John Waters with Johnny Depp, Ricky Lake, and I forget anyone else specifically who's inside of it at this moment. But
Don't think I've seen it.
You should. It's not so bad.
Right,
But I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies. It's also a musical, so that's why it's near and dear to my heart. Young Johnny Depp, John Waters. It's wonderful. I really do enjoy that movie very much. And that song, Please, Mr. Jailer.
I think I have seen this on cable or on HBO or something once a while, long time ago. But
So there is that. That's my leeway with this pick, is that there is that one specific scene where it is set inside of that jail, and we get that wonderful song from that. So that's my third pick is Crybaby, and those are my top 3.
I love it. I should have put Jailhouse Rock. That's what I should have done.
That's what I was thinking also, is waited because I had thought of Crybaby, and that one specific scene is very much inspired by Jailhouse Rock and what it is, especially with Crybaby as a character and who he is. He's kind of modeled after Elvis Presley. So
nice. One last thing I want to bring up about Shawshank Redemption. I always find it funny. I actually went to college with a buddy of mine who is from the greater Massachusetts area, whose name is Andrew Dufresne.
nice.
It was very weird.
Really?
Very weird. Yeah. So, but he loves the movie too. So, but he was Andrew Dufresne. I think he did that. But that's
Probably.
well, okay, Danny. Thank you so much for joining us on Class Action for the day. Why don't you just go ahead and throw out there where can the kids find you?
You all know me. You can find me on Twitter at DannyJoy, DANIEEJOY. You can find me there. You can also find me on the Call to Action Network, because we're not on the Call to Action Network right now. So you can find me on Call to Action, hanging out with Mr. Paul right here, doing our very special show, Chill to Action, every single Monday. And coming up very recently, guys, you can definitely subscribe to my own personal YouTube channel. I do have some stuff coming out. I have a project called Watch the Book coming out, where I discuss movies and their books adaptations. So like Shawshank and The Green Mile.
The Green Mile.
Those books are definitely going to pop up on my feed at some point. So make sure that you subscribe to my channel and find that later.
Because it's going to be on May 1st, right?
May 1st is Big Fish, so come and check it out. I've been held very strictly to that date by the generals inside of the Action Army.
Kind of funny. Danny went live on her. I'll tell the story a little bit real quickly. She was testing her live stream. She was kind of testing YouTube out and everything else. I joined her on there. All the generals just started joining the chat, and we all made her promise that she would start on May 1st, because she's been talking about doing this for about a year and a half now. As far
as y'all know, this has been a project that I've had inside of my brain for probably legit the last 4 years, and have never done anything with it. So
I was like, you know what? It's time to nut up or shut up. Make a date. We'll do it. And so we're going to hold her to May 1st. So that's
right.
So. Well, all right, Danny, thank you again so much, and we'll talk to you later on.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, we're back now. It's the two of us, and it's time to get into our brief of the week. So let's start it out right with a big bang here. We got 5 categories. I'll read them down, and then we'll get into them. Don't throw.
I just threw up the 5
Don't
horsemen.
throw up the 5. That's not allowed. We don't allow horsemen on this channel, even. Not anymore. Yeah, we're going. But see, Danny, even in the background, Danny's booing you right now. I'm about to
I
take
can
her
see her. I don't. Honestly, I'd say if Danny can she bring herself back on if she wants to?
She can't now because she logged out to put her thing on. So she's.
Oh, okay. I just figured if we're talking something about Con Air and she feels like she can say what we
Danny,
haven't said,
yeah, she is
I'd
hanging
love
out
if she
backstage.
could like pop on and say something. So feel free. If
Okay, you know what? That's true. Danny is hanging out backstage. If Danny, you give me a thumbs up if you want to pop in and say something, I'll bring you back on for it. How about that? So, all right. Well, we have the top five, the 5 categories we're going to talk about, and then we'll go into them from there. Category number 1 is going to be better cage. They both are in the cage, so it was.
I was just admiring your cage. He
He
actually says it in
He
Con
does
Air.
say that. That's awesome too. That's great. That's perfect for the Earl too. I love that when he said that. Dr. Stanley Goodspeed, of course, versus Cameron Poe. Number 2, better concept. The prisoners hijacking the plane to get away from their final destination, so to speak, or Ed Harris and Marines taking over Alcatraz to get some money from the U.S. government to the families who deserve it. See, we're going to get into that. He's not a villain. He's a hero.
He's a hero.
We're going to get into that, though, because that's the next category, better villains. Now, I know you guys are watching this right now already. I'm going to say it right now. Get it right off the top of the bat. I had better villains initially, and that's Hummel versus Grissom. Is there any doubt who we're going to vote for? So, to make it a little bit fairer, we had better villains and their crew. So we have Hummel and the Marines versus Cyrus and the Khans. Hopefully that would make it a little more even, a little more possibly unbiased, right?
You could also call it a pros and cons.
oh God.
Come
joke.
on, it was good. I'm so
joke,
proud of that one.
I'm about to cut you. I'm about to throw you off the street, just so you know.
Bring Danny back.
Bring Danny back. Danny's taking over. It's going to be me and Danny doing class action for the rest of the night.
Come on, it was really. I'm like really proud of that one.
You should be.
You should
very,
be.
very proud. Very proud. Category number 4 will be better reluctant partners. Jarvie called them
That's
better
you.
sidekicks in the
When
issue.
I come up with some awesome puns.
I'm your sidekick. That's what it should be. Yeah. But I said it wasn't a sidekick. It was hard to call it a sidekick because how can you call Sean Connery and Mason a sidekick per se?
Yeah.
But so instead, we're going to say better reluctant partners. John Mason and the U.S. forces, the Michael Biehn and people, or the government forces that are working with Vince Larkin, the John Cusack character in Con Air. And then finally, in category 5, because these are both such awesome movies and because we are on the Action Industries YouTube channel, we are totally going to rip off of Action Movie Anatomy.
Of course we are.
Because we love it. We love those boys anyway. Our 5th category is just better fist pumps because, goddamn, these movies have some fucking sweet fist pumps.
It can be either your decision of like which has more awesome fist bumps, or it can be one fist bump against the other. You decide. We interpret however we want to do it. But I've got some written down.
Absolutely. You know what I haven't done yet today? I haven't shown us our posters, our alternative posters of the week.
Oh yes, sir.
The movies we're doing. Just because even though we haven't already mentioned it, if you don't know by now, you haven't been listening. But Con Air, look at that. Great.
Yes.
I love that now.
Look at Virus.
Oh,
Cyrus the Virus.
And then we got The Rock. I love this poster. Actually, I saw this in a green tint too for the green smoke, and I actually liked it a little better, but it wasn't as easy to see the background. So that's why I ended up choosing the orangish version of it. But I love the alternative posters. Thank you again, Jari, for getting me into that. All right, let's get right into it then.
Our first category: Cage versus Cage.
Cage versus Cage, not Cage versus Cruz. Cage versus Cage.
It's a cage match to the. Okay, I'll stop now.
You are you
Strike 2.
You just yelled at me for having a dad joke, and now you're just ripping them off left and right. That's all I got to say about that. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna take this one first because I want to.
You better.
This is an easy one for me, honestly. I thought about it. I thought this was gonna be hard. This is an easy one. This is The Rock, hands down, and here's why. Stanley Goodspeed to me. Actually, I'll say first. Cameron Poe is a blank slate kind of a character. He is reacting to everything, and really, all Cameron Poe is a great head of hair, a really great bad accent.
Yeah, focus on the bad. Great.
It's a great bad accent. I'm not gonna lie. No, it's phenomenal. It's horrible, but it's phenomenal at the same time. But I feel like that's what he is. A lot of time he spent is a lot of staring, a lot of. He gets some badass moments. He's good, but Stanley Goodspeed to me, I love his eccentricity. When he gets all into it, he got the whole nervous thing going on. He got the whole this dude is butthole, and he gets all into it and saying crazy. I think it's such much more of an arc. He's such more of an engaging character to me. To me, it's just more. It's more fun. It's a more fun Cage. I actually want to see Cage play the type of character play like Cyrus Grissom. I want to see him going crazy. That's when I want Cage. I want to see Cage going nuts. I want
that's Face Off. You got it.
Exactly. That's the kind of Cage I like. Cameron Crowe, I'm not going to knock him, but that's not. If I want Nick Cage in a movie, I don't want him playing the Karen Poe role. I want him playing the crazy, whacked out, fucked up guy. So Goodspeed is closer to that. Still a good guy. But all great quotes. Like in a quote I didn't even use, one of my favorite quotes of both movies. The whole idea when she's like, he's having sex with his girlfriend.
Yes, I just wanted to say we need more Cage sex scenes. Not that.
But then at the end, he's like, well, kids, I'm pregnant. Like
how do you know? I mean, how do you know?
Well, gosh, lots changed in the past 7 seconds.
That was 7 seconds ago, Stanley.
Oh, gosh. There's so many eccentricities to the character. I have to give it to The Rock. It's not just something I do love Conner. I do love Karen Poe. He's got some of my best fist pump moments is Karen Poe. But as far as the character go, give me Stanley Goodspeed every day.
I've got a. You said something about he's reacting to the situation. I've got a pretty strong counter argument that he has a chance to get off the plane. He's in power. That's a moment where he stops reacting and he starts taking charge of things.
Okay.
So first off, I agree. He just wants to get home to his girls. He's almost getting like freed from prison, but that's a crucial moment. He goes back. I understand that's his brother, but he's got a wife and a child at home. He still decides he's going in for his brother. So, and that moment, his arc totally changes. He takes charge.
I can agree with that. But it's not as exciting. It's where he flips from completely reactive to becoming proactive, but it's still more of a straight-laced character, though. There's not much layers to that character.
Yeah, I agree there. He's in Con Air, he's definitely the macho guy, the ex-special forces trained sort of. He's able, and he's comparatively to Stanley Goodspeed, he's very subtle. He talks slower. He's calm.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, I think Danny wants.
Sorry. I thought you were done.
I'm gonna say Danny wants to pop on. She's giving the signal.
Of course.
So let's get her on there. Go ahead, Danny. Tell us about Nick Cage.
So this might seem like a hot take to some people, but I saw Con Air at a very particular time inside of my life, and for me, Con Air is actually more of a romantic movie. That's very
yes, it is. Con Air starts off as a romantic movie for
it's
sure.
It's a fucking love story. I'm sorry, I don't know if I can cuss. I'm so sorry.
Oh, you can.
Okay. I'm so sorry. I'm so used to being on our own show.
It's encouraged.
It's a love story, and that's really what it is. I mean, Cameron Poe goes to jail for protecting his wife, and that's why he ends up going to jail. And his entire arc is just trying to get to his wife, and that's where I think that's why I kind of gravitate more towards Con Air. In the conversation that we had before this, you guys are totally all about The Rock and stuff, and then I was like, Con Air's my movie because it was more of a love story for me.
How
whenever
do I
I
live without you?
Oh my God! Do not get me started to Leanne Rhymes. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Oscar-nominated, 2-time Oscar-nominated movie, Con Air. It is.
It is. And so that's where Cameron Poe for me is the better character, just because that's just how I relate to it in some sort of way. He's definitely a hero. He's presented with all of these situations, and he always chooses to make the right decision the rightest decision that he can make inside of this movie. I don't want to say the right decision, but he still tries. He's still a very straight-laced character. Yes, absolutely. But everything that he's doing is just kind of out of love just to sound really silly about it. But I think that's what resonated with me the most about Con Air, is that's really what it was. I will say really quickly, whenever y'all were talking about Ed Harris's role and who Ed Harris could play inside of the movie, like if you could cast him in anything, I think that he would actually be okay as Cyrus the Virus.
That's exactly. Oh yeah, absolutely would be.
I think that he would do that well. I think that John Malkovich definitely gives that role the John Malkovich touch to it. So you you can't replace anyone. Which any role that John Malkovich is in, you cannot replace him with anyone. You really can't. It completely changes character, at least in my opinion, and what I've seen from John Malkovich. But I think that Ed Harris and who he is, and especially like who he was in 1997, I think that he could have gotten away with playing this role and allowing to have that different type of, like, imagine Ed Harris and Nick Cage talking to each other, like having that banter back and forth with each other in that particular type of role. Like that would be hilarious. I think that they would work very well off of each other. So that would be the character that I would put him as. I think that Steve Buscemi's characters, I think just because of the time, Steve Buscemi looked like that type of villain.
I'm telling you, go watch Just Cause. Just watch Just Cause. If you've never seen it, watch that movie. Why not, even on YouTube, because Ed Harris is only in like 2 scenes of it, but those 2 scenes are. I think I had you watch that at one point. I gave you those links.
Yeah, you did.
But he's very wonky.
He's more squirmy,
more squirrely. He does it
really
well. You'd be surprised because he doesn't get a chance to do that very often.
I just think that, just personally, in my perspective, I think the Steve Buscemi's physicality and how he physically looks is what embodies that really scared place. And especially me being a fucking 10-year-old girl at the time that I saw this movie, someone who looks like that is absolutely going to creep me out.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
the whole world.
Oh man.
I've got a question for you, Danny.
Yes.
We did talk about Cage and Con Air's Cameron Poe. What about the infamous accent?
Nicolas Cage cannot do a bad accent.
Right?
Ever. Whatever Nicolas Cage is setting himself out to do, it's perfect. It's perfect. Don't argue with me about that. Please don't talk about Nick Cage, okay?
If Sean Connery can try a Russian accent in The Hunt for Red October, then Nick Cage can do whatever he likes.
When you guys brought me on, I was gonna come on and I was gonna say, we named the dog Indiana. It's not the right movie, but that's the only shot. That's like the best Sean Connery that I can do.
That's awesome. Well, all right. Since Danny hasn't prepared, I'm not going to let her. We're not going to have her influence the vote per se. She could influence our vote. I'm not going to give Danny a, because I don't know how much she's going to come on, so I can't have her. I don't want to give her unfair advantage.
Are you taking a vote away from a woman? That's what's happening here.
That's what I'm doing. I'm impressing the minority at this point. That's what I'm doing.
I like calling Paul out like that.
Oh yeah, it's encouraged.
Son of a bitch.
It's very much encouraged. But that was all that I wanted to say. I just wanted to kind of pop on with my perspective on how
feel free to.
Con Air kind of comes off for me just more as of, at the time when I saw it, it came off as kind of a romantic movie, and I think that that's also where I got into action movies, because that action sense, like oh man, like I know that y'all are going to get into this later, but my personal moment in this movie, just when they land on that strip in Vegas, man, like
we'll get there.
Okay.
You can pop back in if we're talking fist pumps.
We'll get in there. All right, we'll talk to you in a little bit, so we'll go from there. Okay.
I haven't made a decision yet. I talked about Cameron Poe being the more, your classic sort of action hero type, but Stanley Goodspeed, like you said, he's actually incapable in the situation that is thrown in. He can handle the rockets, but he can't handle the action and the guns as well, which I actually kind of like. I like the fact that he's this everyman sort of hero, and that he's like squirmy and super weird.
That's what I love about it. Okay,
but it's the cardboard accent, it's the hair, it's how buff he is as Cameron Poe that I just can't. I cannot give it to Con Air. So I'm doing some injustice towards Stanley Goodspeed, and I'm giving it to Cameron Poe.
Okay, there it is. 1-1. Goodspeed and Poe. Well, you got good Cage in both movies. That's all I got to say. So can't complain about that. All right, let's move on then to number 2, Better Concept.
Yes, Better Concept. So we got prisoners taking over an airplane, and highly trained military officers taking over a prison called Alcatraz. Do you mind if I take the lead on this?
Go right ahead.
this is a weird choice, but I'm giving it straight away to Con Air, and this is why. The Rock, interestingly, The Rock has like larger. It has larger. What do you call impact? It has larger. What's the word I'm looking for? Threat, a bigger threat. They're threatening to destroy an entire city of San Francisco. But in Con Air, it's just like a ragtag of prisoners taking over an airplane. And it doesn't feel like high stakes. But somehow the sort of this elevated, pun intended again, elevated reason for the elevated, Jesus, I'm lost for words. This idea of prisoners taking over the plane sort of elevates the idea, because the military guys in The Rock they're very much in control of the situation. But if you think about the prisoners, they're sort of chaotic. They're improvising. They're doing everything off the cuff.
They're hiring public defenders.
I can't. I'm losing myself with all the puns.
They're hiring public defenders.
Yeah. So in that way, the prisoners on that plane, they feel more dangerous. It feels like they can crash into anywhere. They can do whatever damage. But in Hummel's case, you sort of feel like he's in control. You sort of start to empathize with him, and you almost feel like that he won't actually do it. He's there for the threats. Okay, we know the movie. We've seen it 100 times. But even the first times, you feel him in control, and you sort of feel for him. So in that sense, the threat is kind of taken away, and that's why I'm giving it to Con Air. I don't know, something about an airplane and prisoners in there, it feels more dangerous, and I like that concept.
Okay, I'm going to counter you, because I actually am giving it to The Rock straight away. I thought about it briefly, and I kind of like depended on a few things, but I guess I have to make those clarifications. So if I make these clarifications, this is why I'm going to go there. I have to count the motivation. The motivation behind the takeover of Alcatraz.
I get that.
Makes for such an interesting, we were talking about, we're going to talk about it soon, about Ed Harris's villainous role. I guess the heroic, exactly, the heroic role. Now, all the Marines aren't really on the side for the right reason, but it adds such a different layer to the movie that we don't get, especially in an unusual and trashy 90s action film. I mean, in a Michael Bay film and a Michael Bay light film like Con Air, which is basically, I can't believe Michael Bay didn't direct Con Air. I really think like it's the same. I looked up. He must have. Like that must have been Michael Bay. Yeah. Simon West is really Michael Bay, and Skies, right? Like Face Off the Skies or something. Or I don't know, but Mission Impossible. Mascots. But either way, the state. You're right about Con Air. It's a cool concept. It's very unique at its time, and it has a lot of cool stakes to it. I'm saying the word "cool" a lot because that's what the movie is. It's cool. But I like the motivation behind The Rock and the scenes, like where you have the beginning scene with Ed Harris and his wife, or his wife's grave. I miss you so much. I'm sorry. Don't think of me poorly. And he goes on to Alcatraz. He tells the kid to get on tell your teacher it's time to go. Getting all the.
But you're talking about the character. We're talking about concept here.
That's the concept.
But that's all fluff for the concept. You can't argue that into concept, though.
Oh, I can, though, because that's what makes the concept work, is the motivation behind it. It's not just bad guys or rogue marine. It's not just a rogue marine taking over Alcatraz for their own personal gain. It's about doing what's right by people who have brothers who have served with you, people who have died for the country, that have been shit upon by their government and everything else. And it makes you have the good guys. So you don't really know who really to root for to a degree. You have Nick Cage and Sean Connery. You're rooting for them because they're obviously, you don't want San Francisco destroyed, but there's so much different behind the concept of the villainous motivation that makes it just an interesting concept to me. I don't know who to root for. And that concept will always get me versus Khan's trying to escape from prison in a cool, very cool way, no doubt.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't like this. I'm not, because the way I approached it, I'm not saying yours is wrong, but like I'll explain why I'm sort of.
Let me just interject and say it's funny because I actually wrote it down. I was writing this up. My whole thing says depends on whether you include motivation or not. And I just decided the last time I'm going to include the motivation in it because that's what makes the concept for me. So go ahead. Try to shoot me down. Try to sway me over.
Because to me, the concept, it's like an elevator pitch. It's like, okay, I've got a cool movie. It's like military guys taking over a prison. They want to shoot rockets. That's the concept. Okay, the other concept. We're a prisoner. They're taking over a plane. All hell breaks loose. That's like, it's a very, okay, there's a general. His wife is dead. That's fluff. That's fluff for the story, which is awesome for The Rock. But it's pure concept. you got to go prisoners in a plane against the military taking over the prison.
Okay, I'll meet you halfway. Okay, I won't get into the other, his wife is dead, everything else. But the pure motivation why they're taking over the prison does come into play with the concept, as far as I'm concerned. Why are they doing it? Prisoners trying to get away. Prisoners taking over a plane to escape. In this case, the military taking over the prison because they're striking back against the injustice of the American government slaying their brothers. That's part of the concept to me. That's a major part of the concept and why it works. We've always talked about why does The Rock work.
That's story. That's not concept.
But it is, the motivation is part of the concept. You can't have a concept without a motivation. Why are they doing it? I mean, I do see what you're saying. I disagree with what you're saying to a degree. I will come back halfway and see. I won't go full on into the depth of it, which would make The Rock win hands down for me. But even taking it away, if you add in any level of motivation to the reason why things are going down the way they're going down, I have to tip it over to The Rock because of that. And to me, if I take that away, does Con Air win? Maybe. It's almost pretty even to me. I love the idea of holding up on the greatest. Now, we're not just taking over prison. You're taking over the prison, the greatest prison in the history of man. No one's ever escaped from.
I can get behind that.
And the concept is who's got to save them? A former prisoner of Alcatraz.
Now that I can get behind.
And that former prisoner is basically James Bond.
He is.
He is. Actually, that's a theory. That's created Bond growing up. So I'll throw that in there as a concept as well.
You keep throwing things in there.
I'm throwing shit to see what sticks. I'm going to try to convince you because that's how I feel about this. I do like the Con Air concept. I'm not going to lie. It's great. It is cool.
One more thing. I thought the set design for the plane, the cages, everything, it was so cool looking. Like Alcatraz, it feels like they shot in Alcatraz, right?
Yeah. Yes.
So you can pretty much, it feels like a real place, which is actually a good thing for the movie. But in Con Air, you can tell that it's a really coolly produced set, but I don't know, it sort of works for the style of movie that Con Air is. Like the cages are very like chrome looking, sort of cool. It's a pretty wide plane, which usually planes aren't that wide. So I don't know. I sort of thought it was really like sweet in a 90s action movie kind of way.
All right, I get that.
So yeah, I'm going Con Air.
I'm still going The Rock. We didn't sway each other. Right. We sway each other a little bit, but not quite enough to get us over on the other side. And that's okay. That's quite all right. Number 3. Better villains and the crew.
All right.
Now, we talked about this at the top. We said that if we just let off with Hummel versus Cyrus, I love Cyrus, but General Hummel is probably our favorite villain in action movie history. Because we love the I already talked about motivations. It makes him a hero. His steely intenseness. Something about Hummel, you want to. He's a few times you actually root for the villain in a way.
For sure.
So I threw in there the other Marines versus the other cons. Now, I will say that I think I still have to give it to The Rock, but it's a lot closer. And here's why I'm doing it. I think the cons, as in general, all the cons beat all of Marines.
Sorry, I'm trying so hard not to say pros.
All the cons beat the pros.
Okay, I'm back.
That's true. As a whole, the cons are a better group. There's many more individual cons than there are individual Marines.
Mm-hmm.
But I have to say, throwing David Morse in there as a second is so good for me. I love David Morse in The Rock.
Yes,
and
me too.
I love John C. McGinley in The Rock in a smaller role.
He has a really cool moment. If I can just interject for just a second, there's like this. There's a moment where McGinley he screws something up, where it's like he says, "Well, there are 2 men in here who says you didn't finish the job," and he goes, "Yes, sir."
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Right.
He just goes back. He doesn't have to give him another order. He just knows he's fucked up. He's got to right the situation.
And he so is motivated to work for Hummel. Hummel just sits there, looks at him. He knows he fucked up. He wants to do it for his boy there. I get that. It's awesome. Exactly. That's my whole point. I love McGinley. I love them. I even love the villain, the shit weasel guys. Also, they're kind of funny in a way. If I had to pick one of the, I'd say the cons win, but the cons don't win enough to outset Hummel over Grissom.
That's how the weight goes, right? It's sort of I feel like the same way. The cons are very stereotypical, and each character is very different.
Right.
The military crew, they David Morrison, Hummel. Okay, there's the captain who sort of takes control at the end,
Mhm.
but they sort of blend together.
I agree with that.
Yeah, so in that way, I totally agree with you that Con Air has more like
Notable.
vibrant characters, but it's.
Not
I go
enough.
back to the same thing that you do. It's like Morse and Hummel, they weigh up so much. Like they just
Basically, what it is Con Air has
Wait.
more, but The Rock has the highest quality of The Rock. Is
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
the one you go for. So, yeah, I'm gonna give that to The Rock definitively.
and we've talked endlessly how Ed Harris is not the villain in The Rock, and he feels. I thought of a comparison. He feels very much like Thanos in a way, because Thanos, I'll always protect him. Thanos was saving the universe.
Yeah,
The Avengers are pretty much destroying the universe because the people will destroy themselves eventually.
That's
There's too many of us.
absolutely.
Thanos was trying to save them.
He'd be the savior. Exactly. Ed Harris should have played Thanos.
Actually, Josh Brolin as Ed Harris as Hummel would have been cool as well.
It would have been very cool as well. I can never
Yeah.
replace Hummel with
No,
anybody,
but
obviously,
he's
but
a close-
Josh Brolin would be cool if it was ever remade and he had to be younger or something.
Yep.
I'd go with that. That'd be a recast I would totally make. See, I can be open-ended about The Rock, guys. I can be about Ed Harris. I can be open-ended about it. Here, I just said I could see Josh Brolin in that character. Please note that down for the record. But all right, that's three. We got The Rock. We both go for The Rock on that one. Category number 4 would be better reluctant partners, and they're all reluctant because we have John Patrick Mason. Sean Connery, they have to bust him, have to take him out of prison for 27 years. He's been languishing away, but they need his intel. So he doesn't really want to work for them, but he's got to try to get to his daughter and eventually escape again, as we find out. But then on the other side, you got John Cusack, who doesn't really believe in Cameron Poe, doesn't believe in anybody at first, but he does start to, and as it goes along, he starts getting more and more involved. And he's actually what's really cool about the John Cusack character is that it's very rare, especially in the 90s action genre and 2000s action genre. It's not a douchey FBI character.
Yeah,
Really
you're
douchey
stealing
US
all
Marshal
my thoughts. Exactly. He
You gotta
almost
let-
feels miscast, but it works. It
It works
works.
so well because the character's not douchey like they usually are. He's a real genuine person. He looks for the good in things, and he wants to believe what's going on. So this is a tough one for me to do because Sean Connery is basically playing James Bond, which is exciting to see after all these years. 10 years later, about 10 years since he last played Bond, I think. 13 years actually. I think Never Say Never Again was 83. So you get to see that versus John Cusack. So then you got to throw in the other people involved. You got the Cole Meany for Con Air, which is a good, fun character, but he is the douche.
He is the shit weasel.
He is a shit weasel. You got the guards that are on the plane, and I forget her name. I like the female guard. I can't remember her name at all. Guard Sally Bishop.
Okay.
And she's good. I love her.
Guard Bishop.
But then you go back, and I go back to The Rock, though. I'm like, this is where one character shines very brightly, and that's Michael Biehn in his small role.
Oh my God, yes.
You can't not have Michael Biehn as reluctant, right? And that whole washroom sequence, which we're going to talk about, obviously. He's so good in that small role.
So convincing.
So convincing. We're going to the greatest battalion the Vietnam commanders ever had. I shit you not. Oh God, he's so good. So intense.
We're all the oath as United States Marines. Have you forgotten about that? Okay, I'm getting too far.
I cannot give that order. I cannot give that. Love it so much. But yes, we got Michael Biehn, and then we got the colorful character too, because you got your own shit weasel. Womack is a great shit weasel.
Yes. Oh, I love
He's
Womack.
a piece of shit. We see it
Womack, you piece of shit.
every time we say that. But Womack is so good in that role. And at the end, I love that at the end, everything's gone down. All the shit's gone down. And there's Womack at the end going, "Where's Mason? I gotta see his body. He's like so upset. Vaporize? How did you do that?
There's this really cool moment, like the vaporize moment.
They can do that. They can totally do that.
But the first guy, the guy with the mustache, the guy with the really stern look, not Womack, but he goes like, vaporized. Huh? He's like, he smirks. He knows that he let him get away. He's like, vaporized.
I feel like he hates Womack too. That's what it is. He's kind of like, fuck Womack. Fuck Womack. You guys just saved our lives. We'll let him go. That's good. So, and that's what it is. I think when it comes down to it, I gotta go with The Rock again.
Although think of John Cusack is like the Sergeant Powell to John McClane.
Absolutely. And
Right.
go ahead. You can bring. You know, I won't. I'm going to say The Rock, but I'm going to let you try to sway me because I can be swayed. I can be swayed. Go ahead. Tell me what you're thinking there. Go ahead. Expound on
How
that.
can I sway you when I'm picking The Rock?
Okay, fair
Like,
enough.
I'm trying to do justice for Con Air because John Cusack really is an incredibly risky casting choice. He looks so douchey, but he's exactly the character you actually want him to be. So, like you said, he almost feels miscast, but it works. He's the Sergeant Powell to John McClane.
Yeah.
But it comes down to Cusack's not really quotable. I do like that Mason is endlessly quotable in The Rock.
And Michael Biehn in that short amount of time.
Exactly. So it comes down to who's more quotable in this case.
It's more fun. They're more fun to engage with.
Yep.
The Con Air side is too. I want to say bland is not the right word. It's not a bland supporting cast. They're good, but it's just not as
like actually
punchy.
the shit weasel Womack. Actually, the character who plays Womack is not as like you believe that he has a redeeming side as well, and he almost shows it at times. But the shit weasel in Con Air is like almost pure evil. He's like so shitty.
That's very true. They have layers though. All right, well we'll go with that then. We're gonna go with The Rock on there. So the last category we have is better fist bumps. Ooh, the fist bump moments. There's so many of them. We should talk Con Air first, I guess. I'll talk Con Air first. Of course, Danny already brought it up already. She brought up the landing in Las Vegas. I mean, that's fucking. I mean, that at Las Vegas Strip, that's fucking so sweet. You watch that scene go down, and you're like on the edge of your seat. Going, holy shit, the damage! Like they're clipping off parts of this thing. You see the cars down there, and they're just trying. Oh god, I feel like so excited about it. You know what I mean? But to me, I actually love some of the smaller fist pump moments, and some of them aren't even moments. I mean, fucking Karen Poe's hair is a fist pump moment for me. Just anytime you come down with that, it's the meme now. The hair is flowing,
and there's a little salt and pepper in there as well. He shouldn't have it. He's like a young dude, but he's got some like gray.
Yeah, a little bit gray there. Yeah. Just like, oh God, you're a beautiful man right now. But then also the one moment, it's ridiculous. It's absolutely bullshit ridiculous, but yet you sort of like, fuck, that's cool. When he gets shot in the arm.
Oh my, that's my fist pump. That's my fist pump.
Doesn't even recoil. Just keeps walking. You're like, your arm would have been fucking showing back, but you're fucking Cameron Poe.
He's ex-special forces, Ranger Battalion. He will move mountains
or die trying. That's wrong. Yeah, wrong. Not Jerry B. Jerry B. as Cameron Poe.
That would work. I do want Jerry B. to try an Alabama accent, though.
I don't know. He could do it. I'm sure he could do it.
Jerry B. I almost don't want him to be able to do it, but still try to do it.
That's what I'm saying. He would do it. He would do a different, bad, awesome Alabama accent.
But if we're talking fist bump moments, we gotta talk about the hero qualifier or the villain qualifiers.
I watched that
That's
one again this morning. I watched that on YouTube.
Big thing. I actually wrote down some of the best ones.
Oh yeah,
that's William Bedford, a.k.a. Willie Bedlam. He caught his wife in bed with another man, left her alone, drove 4 towns over to his wife's family's house, killed his parents, her brothers, her sisters, even her dog. And when they do, Nathan Jones, a.k.a. Diamond Dog, former general of the Black Guerrillas. Who are they? I've got no idea. It sounds cool. Blew up a meeting of a National Rifle Association saying, and I quote, they represented the basest negativity of the white race. He wrote a book in prison called Reflections in the Diamond Eye. New York Times called it a wake-up call for the black community. They're talking to Denzel for the movie.
That was him. That was the whole thing. Denzel really perfect. That the villain qualifier was part of my favorite moments in the whole movie. I gotta admit, that's good. That's good stuff right there.
But there is 3 tours in Vietnam, Panama, Grenada, Desert Storm, 3 Purple Hearts, 2 Silver Stars, and a Congressional Medal of Jesus. The man is a hero.
Maybe I think Legend's a better term there, Mr. St. Clair.
Yep.
I love Al.
Mr. St. Clair, that was a good delivery.
I believe a Legend is a... And he gets him on the phone. Frank, what's going on here, Frank? The whole conversation they have is authoritative role.
What's going on there, Frank?
What's going on there, Frank? Got a lot of people worried here, Frank. Wow, Who is? And then Sinclair talks again. Who is this? Chief of Staff.
How old are you?
Sinclair. How old are you? We got no fucking idea what I'm talking about. Somebody put a tape over Sinclair's mouth. He's wasting our time. So good.
I was
so
running
good.
Black Ops missions out of whatever when you
In
were still
Cambodia.
shitting your pants.
I love that whole sequence there. Is just a fist pump moment. It's like so intense, so greatly. And Ben and Drew mentioned that too. It's that war room scenes. When you have those like war room sequences, all the guys hang around, I talk about it. They're always such great moments in these movies. But
I
What's the
feel
greatest?
kind of dirty. What should I do to get clean?
I think I need to hit a washroom, a shower.
Gotta
room.
get a washer. What's it's a
shower room. Oh, so fucking good. I could talk about the shower room scene all day. It'd be like I could have the whole movie be that.
I think if I had to pick the greatest fist pump of all time,
that
it'd be the
it.
shower room. I'd pick that in a heartbeat.
I think that I wouldn't disagree. Michael Biehn versus Ed Harris with the high ground, and it's
The rest
so
of you following him. You
heartbreaking.
swore an oath as United States Marines. Have you forgotten about that?
I'm not gonna give that order again.
You know goddamn well I can't give that order.
I am not gonna repeat that order. And they keep going back and forth, and it's
What the hell's the matter
heartbreaking.
with you?
That's it. Because he keeps
Yep.
saying, like, I'm not going to repeat that order. But he does repeat the order because he doesn't want this to happen. He's doing
Mhm.
everything he can to try to use
Mhm.
all the things. Please don't make me do this. I'm not. What the hell is wrong with you? You know you can't win. He still fights it. And then what happens? What happens? It's not anybody giving. They both don't give up. It's the guy knocking off the little broken piece of the tower, or whatever it is, and the gunfire starts. And then what happens?
Hold your fire.
He's like, no, he's yelling off the top of his cease fire, cease fire, and all of them are and in slow motion. All
And he
the
picks the
up.
handguns.
got the slow motion shot, and you got the shitweasel, the guys. They got are going to be the real bad guys at the end. They're like laughing as they're like firing and kill the Marines. But then the heartbreaking one at the end, the young Marine gets killed and falls down into the shaft again, and Nick Cage like all freaked out about it and everything else. You know what happens? Ed Harris just comes in, gets the camera. God damn you for putting me in this position. Right? Oh, it's so good. So good. Favorite fist moment of all time. Such an intense scene. I could watch that scene over and over again. It's one of the best scenes in the history of action movies.
It is.
Easily. So I guess you know which side I'm picking.
Yep, both of us. It's the shower room. I'm pretty sure we just picked the fist pump category so we could talk about the shower room.
That might be right. We got to make that in there. I mean, that's not even the only fist pump in the movie. That's a funny part. There's
Definitely not.
other great moments in the movie. The whole opening of the jail cell, the Ed Harris and Sean Connery dialogue is kind of cool when they get together.
Sean Connery walking up to Ed Harris when they've got the hostage.
Yes.
And Sean Connery walks through the halls, like this music comes on. He's like, he's back. He's just walked through the lighting's awesome.
And then I forget the exact line. I forget what to talk about. Sean Connery says something like,
personally, I think you're a fucking idiot.
boom! Thank you for making my point for me. There's also the scene where between Connery and Cage, where Connery's like, he like takes something. He walks away. You take care of this, and then Connery or Cage goes like, well, what about the rockets? What about the thing? And he just goes like, okay, what does that mean?
Okay.
Okay. And I can't. And how can we even say it? Two other moments? Ed Harris versus David Morse. All he was like, ask him for another hour. No. I'm calling him. Put the phone down. You're being.
I'm asking you as a friend. I'm giving you a direct
order. That deal with the man with a gun. Put the phone down. Thought you weren't ready to kill. I'm warming up.
But you know he would never. And you know that David Morse would never kill him, even when they're having the Mexican standoff. Never in a million years would David Morse shoot him.
I'm getting goosebumps too. Think about that, and that's the other thing, though. Man,
and I'm like, when he puts the gun to Hummel's head, Hummel knows he's not gonna. He knows exactly that's his boy.
David Morse is his boy, and that would never happen. Well, General, with the greatest honor of my life to serve with you. And like you said, It's over.
Yeah.
And then the Harris, greatest death. One of the greatest death scenes in movies too is Connor brings him in, and he's bleeding.
What
He's
have I
like,
done?
what have I done? Oh, so
Lower Lighthouse. He says
Lower
Lower
Lighthouse.
Lighthouse. And that's
he tells him where it is.
totally
Lower Lighthouse.
redeemed.
Redeemed himself. Gets it. I have
We
goosebumps
bluffed.
all
They
over my
called.
body.
The mission's over. I love that line as well.
Yes, that's it. Over. Oh God, oh so good. So I could go on and on about the whole movie. There's so many fist bump moments in there, but even the beginning when the rockets, they get the rockets, and the guy dies. Like guy gets caught in the VX gas.
Yeah.
And then more second, Ed Harris looks at him and saying, "It's like he knew that he knew, and he knew it was over. Let's go." Oh, so good, so good.
And even the part where without Hummel, where Cage and the other chemist, they're in the like they're taking
You want me to
apart
stick
the bomb
this in my heart?
Are you fucking nuts?
So good.
I need the sprinklers. Where are my sprinklers?
So good. I could talk about this movie for hours. We've already been there for
Con Air. The like Danny said that the plane landing on the strip is her fist pump. My fist pump is actually when the whole action is over and Cameron's walking up to his girls and how do I leave? It turns back into the romantic comedy that it started as. I do love it's so cheesy, but I do love it so much.
It
like
gives
the
them the
lighting,
bunny.
like the woman's hair, like Trisha's hair is like super blonde combed. Everything's perfect. Oh, so trashy, but so good.
So trashy. So good. He gives the bunny and everything else. The whole.
Daddy, I have a picture of you. I have a picture of you too. Here's your bunny.
And put the bunny in the box. So I mean, there is a lot of cool moments. Not gonna. How about even Con Air? I want to talk about the fist bumps. I like the moment where Dave Chappelle lights the guy on fire to start the whole sequence there. Sorry, see you on the other side or whatever.
See, that is like there's some super offensive stuff in both movies, though.
Oh, yeah.
Let's agree with that. Like,
Well,
I think he says like "how" or something to him. Like that is like, oh no.
They're 90s, and Ben and Drew have said it best. Michael Bay was always bad at that. The casual racism of the like the whole the African American woman in prison.
Yeah,
A lot of African. I got a goddamn gun at home. And it's like that's
yep. And the gay prisoner who wears the dress is like so over the top. Like,
or Michael Bay in The Rock, the gay hairdresser.
yeah.
I just want to know.
Would you say Picasso can't have a brush?
No brush. It's the
No
crunch.
brush?
It was some kind of thing. It's so offensive.
It's
and
a
so over
grunge
top.
thing.
But it's like it was such of its time, and like it can't. These kind of things could never be done now, and they should be looked upon that way. But it is what it is these days. At this point, you can't change the movies now from the 90s. But as you said, there you go. Those are our fist pumps. Our best fist pumps. Got to go to The Rock for me. So, and I think you agreed too. So, unfortunately, I mean, at the end of the day, this wasn't nearly as close as it probably could have been. Winning, let's see, 8-2. It's The Rock.
Did you give everything to The Rock?
I did. I just said no matter what you said, I gave everything to The Rock. I think I did give everything to The Rock. I think I did, didn't I? I think I did.
I started off with I gave Cameron Poe and I gave The Concept.
That's right. Those
Con Air,
two we gave.
Mm-hmm.
I almost gave. I came close on a bunch of them, but all of them were won over for different reasons. I was trying. That's why I like The Rock. The Rock's one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't surprise me.
Agreed.
So that it doesn't really surprise me. And I hate that it won by so much because that I don't want anybody out there to think that I don't. I love Con Air. I think I could watch Con Air today. And I'd be excited and fun to. It'd be fun to watch it. The Rock is just on a different level for me.
It truly is.
So
Agreed.
that's all we got there. So. Well, that's going to be our show for today, guys. Thank you for sticking around. Thank you. You hit those likes, hit those thumbs up, hit those subscribes. Leave us any comments, anything you want to talk about, anything you want to maybe anything you want to have on the show, any things you want to put up against each other. We're always looking for more interesting new ideas. I do want to thank Danny for coming in. She was
yes. I think that was my favorite off the cuff we've ever done.
I think it might have been too.
Because I was so panicked. I do like when we panic on these.
We did panic. We definitely were like, you can see our mind going, oh, fuck.
You said Clerks too. Come on.
Well, I did
That's
think Clerks too. I completely. Panicking. But what do you want to do? Well, I don't have anything to plug for a show next week. We don't have anything planned quite yet. We always like to see what Ben and Drew are doing on best movie, greatest movie ever, so then we can see if you want to piggyback and have a supplemental to that in a way. Not always, but sometimes. I will say we do have one episode definitely planned and booked. May 10th. Sunday, May 10th, we're going to have our second.
I'm sorry, I'll be right back. The dog, just real quick.
Oh, the dog. You got a dog. We're going to bring the dog on. Dogs equal ratings. You know that. The dogs equal ratings.
Oh, sorry.
You're not bringing the dog on. The dog's
My
equal
dog
ratings.
was struggling so hard. She tried to get up on the couch, but she got stuck midway. Oh my god.
Poor. We'll let the dog rest. Then we don't want to scare the dog. We have May 10th, Sunday, May 10th. We're gonna have our second ever Class Action live stream, 10 p.m. Pacific. At this point, it's gonna be myself, Richard, and we're gonna have two guests. Maddie Kearns, a favorite of the Action Army, and Mark Yodi Riley is going to come on the Class Action. The four of us are going to, with Mark Yodi Riley, is only one topic that we have. Well, there's two. Could be Star Wars. We're not going to go with Star Wars. Instead, we're going to be ranking the Superman franchise, the live action Superman films. That's going to be Superman 1 through 4. We're going to add Supergirl to that, the lost, forgotten Supergirl movie from the 80s. Superman Returns, and then we're going to do Man of Steel. We're going to do Batman vs. Superman, and we'll explain why on the show. We're actually going to include Justice League in that as well, because there's important aspects in there. So that's May 10th, so keep that in mind.
And I've never seen Superman 1 to 4 or Supergirl, so it's going to be a really interesting experience for me.
Just like Viewers Universe, and you hadn't seen a lot of those. It's going to be an interesting thing because Riley, for sure, has seen him a bunch of times. I've seen him a bunch of times. I know Kearns has seen him a bunch of times, so it's going to be good to have your perspective on that. So, all right, Richard, where can the boys and girls find you?
The boys and the girls can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Richard Eric with a K Jarvie, and you can find me here weekly with Paul Denuzio on Class Action.
Perfect. You can find me at Paul_Denuzio on Twitter, also Paul Denuzio on Facebook. You can find me right here with Richard Eric Jarvie every week on Class Action. You can also find me on the Call to Action podcast, the Movie Trivia Schmodown after show. If you don't know what that is, look it up. It's a fun time. We also find me at that. Chill to Action is a show I do generally most consistently. Our interview show this Monday, we actually have on Tom Dagnino as our guest. That should be a fun one. Whether or not there's going to be shirts on or off, we don't know. We'll find out the night of. And of course, I actually opened up my own YouTube channel called PLD Projects recently. I've been doing a weekly Star Wars show with the Clone Wars reviews. I also do a show on V, which is one of my favorite shows of the 80s sci-fi franchise. I'm going to be branching out and doing some more shows soon. I'm still kind of developing them. I'm going to try to figure out when to record them. But I do want to do them like live streaming. So look out for that as well. That's it. So thank you very much for sticking it out. Thanks again to Danny. Thanks to Richard Eric Jarvie. As always, court is adjourned.